Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about getting stuck with a barrel that has a bad chamber, and it takes a lot of effort to get your cases out of there, okay? And I've gotten stuck with two of these barrels. This one's a 17, this one's a 19. And this was like early on. This is like more than almost 2 years ago when I started building these things. This here is one of my early builds. So when I built this, at the time, Polymer 80 was sending out like bad rails. So to start off, I had bad rails on this gun where the gun was like jamming up. Polymer 80 had to send me replacement rails, and I got the gun working to the point where I was only getting a jam like a 1 out of every 15. And I couldn't quite figure out what the problem was. I mean, the problem was this over here, where um, at the time I was seeing it just as a jamming issue, but it just seemed like this wasn't getting pulled out, and I thought maybe the extractor was bad. I probably changed, like, probably went through 2 extractors on that gun, and at some point, it's like, I kind of put it to the side. It was hard to diagnose, to really figure it out, because it was only having this problem, like maybe 1 out of 15 or maybe 1 out of 25 rounds, where it just wasn't extracting. Put aside. 2 years later, I've built up a whole bunch more experience. Today, pulled out the gun, went to shoot it, still having that occasional extraction problem. And then this time, I took the barrel out, took one of the spent casings, and I could see that. I could see that. Yeah, this. I mean, basically, I did this test where I got to really yank this thing out. So at this point, I'm like, yeah, there's a problem with this chamber. Okay, this is a chamber problem, not an extractor problem. So what I did is I pulled out a different barrel, one that I knew worked, put it in there, started shooting it. There was an improvement, like now, but I was still getting an occasional jam, right? So it was now, jamming up like 1 out of every, I don't know, 30 rounds. And the problem now was that the extractor that was in here, even though I had changed it a few times, I had still shot a bunch of rounds on the old barrel. So, so here's the thing. Like I said, for the most part, it was working, but that extractor was working really hard to yank these things out, and the extractor was wearing itself out. Okay, so what happened is this barrel chamber ruined that extractor. My barrel chamber, because it was holding on to the cases so hard, was wearing out my extractor as well. So what I did is, in addition to changing the barrel, I then went and I changed the extractor on it. Okay, and now the gun works. Okay, so a lot of times people will say, oh, it's an extractor problem, but it may not just be an extractor problem. It might also be a chamber problem. Okay. When you fire the gun, right, these cases expand to the wall of your chamber, but then the pressure drops. So after you fire this, you should be able to pull these things out with minimal effort. Okay, and if you're not able to do that, there might be a problem with your chamber. And I don't know exactly what it is. At some point, I got two of them here. So this one's a 17. This one's a 19, and this one's one of those like crowned recessed barrels. So this can happen to one of the more expensive ones. At some point, I'll run into somebody that is more familiar with how to fix barrel chambers, and maybe they'll be able to polish it out and make it work. With this one over here, I did recognize earlier on that there was a problem with this chamber. And I did try polishing it, but I wasn't able to get it working. In fact, and the barrels are cheap enough now. I mean, I'm getting the Hooper barrels, stainless steel barrels, $65. So it's not worth going crazy trying to fix these barrels. It's just a lot easier for me to just get another one, right? And I definitely try to get the stainless steel ones that don't have the Cerakoting on them. That Cerakoting on the barrel adds extra resistance. Like I said, this is one of my early builds. So you'll notice that this doesn't have a hollow sun optic. This has one of those burst fast fires. And, I learned really quickly not to buy burst fast fires, to just buy, hollow suns. This has like an 8 MOA dot, which, if you're shooting one-handed, like this, it's basically you have to go to your iron sights a lot of times in order to find that dot. The other thing is, this does not have shake awake. I think it might have like it might go to sleep, but it doesn't wake up, right? So if you leave this for a long period of time, I do think it powers down. But then when you pick it up, you gotta hit the battery. So you can't just pull this out of a holster, or just pick it up and shoot it. You have to remember to turn it on. So let's try a couple of shots with this. All right. Again, we're shooting this one-handed because in my offhand, right? Not in my right hand, in my left hand, because that's how I test the guns to make sure that they're working. So it's a lockout. So definite 100%. The problem was the barrel chamber, okay, which then damaged the extractor because that extractor was just working so hard to yank that casing out of there that the extractor was also wearing out. So, and I know other people have had similar problems because a lot of times I'll hear people talking about extractor problems, and just be aware it might not just be your extractor, it might be your barrel because ever since I just started using like Hooper barrels, stainless steel, I have noticed I no longer have problem with extractors. All right, I can just get the slide parts kit, and I've never had a problem with extractors ever since I started using the Hooper Gunworks stainless steel barrels. Do I have one out here? I don't have one out here. But those are the ones. But just be aware, if you have an extractor problem, the extractor might be the symptom. It may not be the cause. Pick up one of your spent cases, shove it in there, see if you're having trouble pulling it out. Like I can't get it out. All right? It's just impossible for me to get this out unless I use the pliers. Okay, so that's the problem. Solution: change the barrel. Thanks for watching. If you're not a member of my channel, subscribe. Make sure you also follow me on Odyssey. Odyssey spelled Odyssee. I'm Pocono Tactical over there, and on Rumble I'm Pocono Guns. Talk to you all soon.